DHS, CPS, DHHS, OCFS, whatever you want to call the entity that steals our children from us. They're doing it at such a rate as in 2018, the numbers equivalent that to 1 child per minute in the United States of America. That means every minute there's a CPS worker knocking on a door and removing a child from their home. Each one of those children are worth $134,000 of federal money collected on this child as they become part of the budget for the fiscal year. $134,000 per child per minute. 134,000 times 60 minutes in an hour is 8,040,000. 8,040,000 times 24 hours in a day equals 192,960,000. 192,960,000 times 365 days in 1 year come to $70,440,000. That's $70,440,400,000 per year. That is what the CPS is bringing in on these children that they're collecting. $70 billion. Did you know that for the Health and Human Services that they have a staff rate of 240,000? 240,000 people total in the Department of Human Services. That's triple some of these other government offices that we already thought were huge, such as, the IRS. The IRS only has 60,000 employees. DHS, 240,000 employees. I want to get back to the $70 billion that they make a year per kidnapped child. Where is that money gone to? Our children's revenue, our stolen children are worth $70 billion to this one government agency. You wonder why. You wonder why they push so hard to take them from us. Most studies are now showing that once DHS, CPS, any of them get your child in their grasp, they don't come home, and they push it off so long as to get to the 15 months that it's required for them to get the federal funding. If you don't get your kids back right away, you're never going to get them back. That money's too important to them. And they stop at nothing. They lie. They make up all kinds of stories. They don't get your referrals in time for you to get the counseling that they're offering or requiring. They put you in places to get drug tested that maybe they don't match your times for work. They have all kinds of instruments that they use to be sure that they flog you and that you are not able to get your child returned. $70 billion a year. That's why we don't get our children back. June 15th and 16th, those days will be etched in my head forever. And that was the day that we went to the 2 grueling days of a TPR trial or hearing or whatever you want to call it. They didn't bring anything up that made Mary or myself think that we were even close to being that of losing our parental responsibilities and rights. They didn't bring up anything that we've done to abuse or neglect Nina, because there was nothing. The premise of their TPR is one podcast specifically that I had made and put out. The guardian ad litem, and I quote, said, etc., 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 quote, lines from the end of this episode specifically. But it was somewhere along the lines of, Darren Guay, no, that's not the reason that you lost your parental rights and you're not able to see Nina. It's because of these. And then she reads the words of Lester Brown saying, it's not over until I win, which you'll hear in this podcast. But this podcast was the basis, saying that I was an out-of-control father. I was enraged, I'm angry, threatening people, and most importantly, but least truthful, is that I couldn't care for Nina, and nor did I. So I'd like you all to take a listen to this episode. And I'm sorry, it's a replay, but I'd like everybody to hear it. So yesterday, what a kick in the pants that was. I'll be honest. I never in my life have I been ambushed before. And that to me is exactly what yesterday was an ambush. My attorney and I had called and asked for an emergency meeting to be held on our behalf for some concerns of my daughter and a traveling situation, which the host family had brought to our attention that they wanted to do for a Christmas present, to bring her to New York City for a few days. As we all know, the other day that new COVID virus, the Okawik, or I don't know exactly the term of it, so I'm not going to sit here and try to play that I do, but that new virus came and it really did a smackdown for a lot of people. 1 million cases in the United States, 50% adolescent rate increase immediately overnight. This thing just got really bad. So to my concerns, I had voiced that to my attorney, and then in that case, my attorney went ahead and planned a meeting, and that meeting was set for yesterday, which would have been the following day, but it was set for yesterday. So when that meeting took place yesterday, I showed up expecting to possibly have a little bit of leg to stand on, a little bit of ground. I didn't expect any of it, to be honest, but I didn't expect what I did see, and that was the district attorney was there, my caseworker supervisor was there, guardian ad litem, my caseworker, and the beginning of this, and my attorney, and the beginning of this meeting was not met with a brief summary of enlightenment, more or less a complete smackdown onto me and what I am as a father and as a person. And what they did was completely, for 25 minutes, bounced me off the floor like I was just some sort of a rag doll. They stated that I had zero
intuition into what Nina's needs are, that I don't think in the box for her whatsoever. I'm over and above my own agenda, and I just leave her sitting behind when I'm doing those things, and there's nothing further from the truth. But I couldn't believe the ambush. I was shunned. I was disrespected. I was told on multiple occasions that, roundabout way, I was just a piece of shit, and that was about the size of it. So, not expecting that, no, I wasn't prepared for this. Now, the district attorney went up one side of me and down the other, stating that, I'm a worthless dad and all of these things. And then they decided at that moment also that instead of us discussing what was going to go on with Nina's trip, what was really happening in this meeting was they were taking away what little bit of life I had left in me with Nina, and they just squished it and said, "We're all done, Darren. You're all done with your daughter Nina Guay. Possibly, just possibly, we'll be able to revisit this, but all your visits and phone calls are suspended indefinitely, and we'll see what happens at the TPR, or we won't see what happens at the TPR, and everybody will just be vanished." I'm beside myself here. I don't know what to do. I need help. I need people to come and show up and be our support and to guide us here, because I'm beside myself. But what I do know is this. What I do know is at this point, I have nothing to lose. What are they going to do? They're going to take my daughter? Oh, already did that. Was my cousins going to try to steal my daughter from us? Oh, they're already doing that. What are they going to do? Make it so I can't see Nina anymore? Oh, whoops. They just did it. So now it's time for me to take off the gloves. And this fight is on, and this fight is mine. And this fight is for me to take to the top. And I don't have a choice but to win. And in the words of Lester Brown, it's not over until I win. It's not over until I win. And these people are about ready to see what I am made of. First of all, what they're doing is completely unconstitutional. Now, I'm not just jumping on the unconstitutional bandwagon what DHS is doing. However, I can prove in the Maine Constitution alone, what they're doing is they are harassing a accused person. I know that, which says clearly in the Maine Constitution they can't do that. I know, according to their own laws and their own statements, that the things that they accused me of yesterday, like recording Nina, is against DHS policy. No, it's not. A parent is allowed to record his child at any given time at any of their visits. There's a bunch of other things that went on with that. So I'm going to put together that email, and then I'm going to go ahead and read it to y'all and see what you guys think. So here we go with the ambush.
Can you imagine being a judge on the bench saying that those were words of intimidation, fear, threatening manners, showing me not being aware of Nina's needs, or me not paying attention to her herself, not being able to be safe for her to be around? Can you believe that? Where on earth did they come up with what the guardian ad litem said about this being just over the top? That this was an over the top recording to to show that I shouldn't be Nina's dad anymore, and those son of a bitches took that away from us. What's the worst part? They didn't even listen to the damn podcast. I know my attorney hasn't. I'm pretty sure none of the attorneys have listened to the podcast. I'm certain that the judge did not listen to the podcast. And the reason I know that the judge didn't listen to the podcast is because she wouldn't have found me guilty at either one of the hearings that she judged, where she decided my fate. One was the restraining order, and then now my TPR hearing. Now, I know that she didn't listen to this because she knows that she knows that this would have been a lie, and she would have had to have ruled as, either completely throw it out, a mistrial or something, right? She would have had to rule not guilty on our behalf because the caseworker was lying. No, that didn't happen. I even said in our closing arguments, I said, Your Honor, please make reference to our case back in January of the past year, where now I want to be very careful with this, because the caseworker did not file an order of harassment against me. She herself did, which is over now, by the way, but she herself, it was her versus me in the state of Maine District Court. Her versus me. Who was representing her that day? The district attorney. The same district attorney that's prosecuting us for our TPR. A civil matter. Family law matter. Anyways, I want to know if you guys can leave me a message. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you think that was threatening or overbearing, or if I seemed like I was out of control and losing my mind. Because I'll tell you what I thought when I was expressing this, because, doing these things are kind of difficult. Text messaging and everything has gotten everybody out of whack nowadays. They don't understand how to use your tone of voice. Sad, happy, mad, fast, like any of those things. So it's hard to get back into used to that, to using the proper ways to speak. So if I did that wrong in that podcast, let me know, please, by all means, anybody. I thought that what you heard was a sad dad, broken down man, trying to do whatever he can do to get his daughter back up against the wall, but it's laying down flat on his back. I mean, they stole Nina and they've pickled us every corner that we could get to. But yet they've never even said why she was abused or neglected. Never once have we gotten an answer of why she was abused and neglected. It baffles me. Makes me sick to my stomach. Makes me sick to my stomach that I'm in an America that wrong things, that lies, misinformation, kidnapping, judges ruling erratically, caseworkers doing whatever they want, have a free pass with a rubber stamp, district attorneys just running the law of the land, coming into a courtroom and just owning it like it's their own. We have a real problem in this country, people. A real problem. Now, I can't solve the world and I can't solve the United States, but I sure as hell can start right here in Maine. And I'm going to tell you, coming up on the next segment, I'm going to tell you guys all about this. This thing, it's time for me to expose what I've found. So hold on. You're really going to need to sit down for this one. Be right back. From the second my eyes open to the moment that they falsely close for what they say is sleep, I call it a nightmare. I don't dream anymore. The sleep I get is 0 to none, as all I do is think and lay there and try harder and harder to figure out ways to get our little daughter home. We love her so much, and that's ultimately what the TPR has been founded on, is the love that we have for our daughter. You know, the district attorney and CPS tried to say that Mary was a victim of domestic abuse, and it didn't matter how much she kicked or screamed and said, no, this isn't the case. It didn't matter how much her counselors, her lawyers, or any of those people said that that wasn't the case. It wasn't a matter of how many times we got police reports that said that there was nothing at all whatsoever, even in the, possibilities of a call ever coming in from domestic abuse. But here's the funny thing, too. No one ever asked our families anything. There was no interviews done to our families whatsoever. None. Zip, zero, zilch. The guardian ad litem, I read all kinds of paperwork on them. They're supposed to interview your families, your friends, your neighbors, all of these things to get a good roundabout image of what your life is and that of your daughter. No, that guardian ad litem did absolutely nothing. She did next to... No, you know what? She did do something. She ruined a little child and her family. That's what that guardian ad litem is. That's what she's done. So I apologize for that lie there, because she has done something, and it's something severe. She has actually taken and harmed a child. That caseworker, what has she done? That caseworker has done nothing but destroy a family and destroy a little child's childhood. And I say that because she was 3 years old. She's 5 years old now. Those 2 years were supposed to be her happiest, her prime, the best days of her life. And it was supposed to be me and her mother teaching her and rounding her out and letting her know, because she was already on her way to being an amazing child. And she sure is still an amazing child. But it's not how we... And it's not how God, and it's not how the relationship between us and God intended Nina to be at this point. Mary wasn't supposed to be able to have a child. She did. Her name is Nina. That was a gift from God. The state has taken her. You know why the state took her from Mary? Because she supported me. Now, isn't that a kick in the pants? You get two people that stand up for one another, that support one another. They love each other very much. They're best friends, been together for 10 years. We have an older daughter. We have 2 beautiful houses. We have a dog. We have a fence. We have all of the things that are necessary to make sure that a young child is loved, cared for, fed, receptive of, all of those things. All of them. And they came and they took her. Why? Because they break the rules. Because that little girl isn't a beating heart to them. That little girl is a number. And furthermore, this got even worse, is this was more a headhunt for me, because I fought back against this system. I fought back. And I was told by multiple people, Darren, stop, conform. Please don't do this. Do what they're asking you. And I did what they asked me, for the most part. 5/8 or whatever. I did it. Oh, I did it all right. The only thing I didn't do was what they asked of me, was when the urine screens, when they falsely accused me of using drugs and I hadn't been, and they even had a clean urine screen. So what my point is here is, even if I would have conformed to all of their wants and needs, and Mary did too, because it's really easy to point a finger and it's really easy to say, well, if I would have, because you don't know until you're there. They don't give, they take. Do you understand? You do one thing, they take back 3. You have a 3, 4, 5-year-old child begging to come home to her mom and dad. Begging. And they don't listen to it. How on God's earth are we allowing such an organization to operate and steal our children? We are stupid as human beings, folks. If you go beyond the wood line and see a baby in a nest or in a den or in anything, and you go to that nest or den or whatever it is and you try to take that baby, what happens? Now, I'm not saying this threatening, and I'm not saying this trying to be pushy or bossy or whatever. Just simple, trivial question. If you go try to take a young from a nest or a den or whatever from her parents, what happens to you in the wild? That's right. We know what happens. But how come humans don't protect our young that way? And why are we penalized for protecting our young that way? Why is it said that that is not the right mentality to have? Because when all of nature that has outsurvived us by thousands of years, they've survived us. You know why? Because they protect their young. You want to learn a lesson? Protect our young. Because we're not. And what people need to realize is, as much as this hurts my wife and I, that Nina's gone, it hurts her 10 times more. And that's why she deserves nothing more than 1,000% of my time, my effort, and God damn it, every wit I have. Because she will get that until she comes home.